Thank you all for coming, and it's a great pleasure to actually come and talk to you about the start of DevDay. So this is my third CordaCon actually. Sorry, I was here in 2017, and so there we go. Hopefully, we'll get to the right place. So introduction to DevDay. It's a fantastic honour to actually welcome you all to DevDay. We really, really value our Corda community. And I've been on my own journey with R3 since I came into the firm. When I first came in on the solution architecture side, so I was looking at how we could use Corda and why we would use Corda. So I've had a career in platform engineering, but I didn't want to come in and do yet more platform engineering work until I was convinced there was a real value to the thing we were building. And so I did that for several years, and there's quite a lot of my former team here in the solutions engineering team who have been doing that and help people day to day. And so David asked me if I would take on this role as head of engineering, and so I can talk a little bit about some of the things that we're actually doing now and some of what we're going to do to help everybody in this community to take it bigger and better. So I wanted to just sort of step back and just remind people. I mean, David just mentioned 2016 we first open sourced Corda, but 2 years ago this is the first CordaCon I was at, and James and Roger were here, and they were talking about Corda 1.0 preview. We hadn't even released Corda properly at that point. So that was pretty amazing. We've come a very, very long way in 2 very, very short years. So we're helping create something completely new. And I think this is something that we don't necessarily talk about enough. Corda is definingly different to some of these other platforms that are out there. And I think actually the community we've got here is a testament to that. So we're really, really trying to build something that has not been built before. And it's actually a really exciting time. I mean, I'm an engineer. I've been in engineering my entire career. And I think that this is truly spectacular. We're essentially building a new sort of operating system. David sometimes talks about it as an operating system for finance or an operating system for business. But it really is. We're building something that as a technologist I can look at and appreciate as has never been done before. We're building something that really allows computing to work in a very different sort of way. And I think that's something that resonates with many of the engineers that I talk with, and certainly I hope it's resonating with you all as developers who are building on the platform and with us on this journey. So the other thing is we're also solving problems nobody's ever solved before. There are whole new theoretical aspects of computing that this sort of decentralized software engineering that we're doing right now have not been approached. We've not solved these problems. We've not thought about what we're going to do with these class of systems and how we're going to manage them. So it's actually a really exciting time to be an engineer. And I've had this happen a couple of times in my career. I was sort of fortunate enough to be around in the very early days of Linux and watch that community grow. And Corda feels like we're on that same sort of mission. So it's very exciting personally. So one of the things I wanted to draw everybody's attention to is back when we did that whole Corda 1.0 preview, and we had Corda 1.0 had just shipped. We did that, and the engineering community inside of R3 was 25 engineers in the platform engineering team and 5 solution architects. So we had 30 people in the entire engineering community. And one of the things that I love about R3 is that we actually tend to evolve and adapt very, very quickly. People move roles, people get to embrace the things that they enjoy doing. And we grow the business in the way that we need to support the community. And we're sort of trying to pull in the best and the brightest we can to help with that. So this is actually where we are with the engineering team right now. We've gone from 2 organizations to 8 different engineering communities within R3, different teams who are set up to do different things and to enable all of the people in the community and all of our customers in various different ways. So engineering slightly bigger than the others. Solutions engineering is my former team, the team that works with customers to build things. But we have a ton of other people. We've got the developer relations guys, the people who will sort of evangelize and talk about how to actually use Corda to do new and interesting things. We have an operations team that run the Corda network and keep all of the systems and infrastructure running. If any of you have been involved in the Corda trials, you'll know some of those operations people because they've been involved in those. We have our support engineering team, the people who will answer the calls if there are problems and if anybody has issues when they're running in production. Office of the CTO, it's one of the newest teams in the firm. So this is Richard's new team, and I'll talk a little bit about some other changes coming up. We have a production QA team. So again, we have a couple of different teams that deal with test and testability, and we have a sales engineering team who actually help with actually selling Corda Enterprise. Overall, that's now over 110 engineers. It's nearly 120. So it's quite a trajectory. I mean, we've quadrupled the size of the engineering community in 2 years. So one of the things I wanted to talk about is what we're actually doing to do that again. So we had an imaginatively named Project 2X, which, as you can guess, might mean we were going to double the size of the team again. So one of the things I wanted to reflect on, and I was looking at this yesterday, actually, if anybody ever walks into the R3 offices, walk into the kitchen, you'll see a bunch of flags on the wall. And the flags represent all the nationalities of all the people inside the company. And it's an amazingly diverse team. But I did this just for the engineering team because I didn't have time to go through everybody. And this is just the core engineering team and the office of the CTO, so it's 50-some people. If you look there and we count the home nations, we've got 23 different nationalities in the team. But actually, that team's all entirely based in London, which is pretty centralized, and we're all about decentralization. So we figured it was about time we did something else. So we decided we'd create a second location. And as David mentioned, we've already got some space in London. We're already filling that extra capacity we have. So we needed to go somewhere else. And we thought very long and hard about where we could go. We evaluated dozens of different potential locations. And so in the end, we decided that we would be going to the one place that made sense since we were doubling the size of the team. Yes, that got the reaction it's supposed to get. So why Dublin? Well, you are here. I live here. The Guinness is far better here. And as you might notice, I'm a lot closer to Dublin. So yeah, not necessarily the best answers in the world, but they sort of work for me. Why are we really doing this? Well, the reason we're really doing this is it's good engineering aesthetics. We don't want to break things. So when you make changes to an organization, it's like making changes to software. Break the fewest things you possibly can. Keep as many things constant as possible. That way you get to work out what works well, what doesn't work well, and change things accordingly. And so it's just a good sort of practice. Dublin has all the same sort of culture, the same language, the same developer diversity, all the things that we really value as an engineering community. So it was a great choice from that perspective. It's also got a fantastic engineering talent pool. If anybody's been to Dublin recently, you'll see there's an enormous amount of building work, an enormous amount of influx of tech in that area, a lot of excitement. So it's tremendously exciting. And we've been able to find some great engineers already. We only started this process about 3-4 months ago. We've already been able to find our first hires in the Dublin office. So we'll have this up and running by the beginning of the new year, which is a tremendous testament to all the people who've been helping. Thank you to everybody in the team who's been helping with that. The other thing is it has terrible weather. It's just as bad as where I live, which is great because developers got nothing better to do than write code all day when the weather's miserable. And I was talking to one of the ladies in my former team who's from Greece, and she's from a beautiful sunny part of the world, and she was saying the problem is we could have gone to Crete, but then nobody would do any work at all, they'd just go to the beach. So we decided we'd go somewhere with terrible weather. But actually, the real answer is we have seen a massive amount of enthusiastic support for this location. So this is a picture from the first meetup we did in Dublin a couple of weeks ago. And to put this in context, we originally did a really, really low-key thing where we were looking for people who were interested and enthusiastic about what we were doing with Corda. We expected a few tens of people if we were lucky. We had a venue for 35 people. We ended up with an enormous number of people signing up for wanting to do this. At the very, very last minute, we managed to change the venue. And this venue has 80 seats in it. And if you look at that picture, there's a couple of seats at the front, but there's a couple of us you can't see on there. But there's people standing at the back because we ran out of chairs. So it was absolutely amazing for a very, very low-key thing. We suddenly got this massive number of people, huge wave of enthusiasm. And clearly, Corda has resonated really, really well there. And people are excited that we'll have this new engineering team. And I think it's worth emphasizing that the team in Dublin is going to be an absolute sibling of the team in London. We're going to be doing all the same sorts of things, all the same sorts of engineering, so it should be an exciting time for both teams as we can do far more work with it. And as David mentioned, one of the things we want to be able to do is double down on the things that we think are valuable. So it's building out better and more capable versions of Corda. It's building out all the tooling and infrastructure to allow people to do really, really great things with it. We're learning with everybody else. As I mentioned before, there's some new and unique challenges in this space. And so one of the things we're trying to do is to build all of the infrastructure to allow all of you to actually build amazing things with Corda and build them as quickly as possible. So to that point, one of the things I also wanted to talk about is a little bit of not really a change in the guard, but a slight shift in emphasis for some of what's happening. As you all know, Mike Heron has been leading this entire project for forever. And Mike is still the visionary leader for everything that we're doing with Corda. But Mike's always been about what's coming next. If anybody was at his CordaCon speech last year, he was constantly thinking about what's coming next and challenging for what's coming next. And Mike's constantly thinking about those things and going forwards with that. So what that means is that he wants to have the capacity, and we want him to have the capacity to be able to do that forward thinking, to be able to think about where we're going, what the future looks like. And he and Richard and Roger and a few others will be focusing on those things, and they'll be focusing on how we drive things and how we work on that bleeding edge. So as part of that, we are actually announcing that we are going to have Rick Parker, who some of you may know. Rick actually was here last year presenting at CordaCon 2018 talking about performance, and Rick's been part of the original engineering team that's been involved in building Corda for a very, very long time, longer than I have in fact. So Rick's going to take over as the primary maintainer for Corda. That doesn't mean Mike's going to disappear. I would be astonished if we don't see just as many posts from Mike and comments and everything else, and that's exactly what we want to see. But Mike's focus is going to shift towards that forward-looking thing. And actually, some of what Mike's doing is actually going to be using Corda rather than building Corda. So actually, if anything, he's going to be holding us to account, which is going to be amazing. And I'm certainly looking forward to hearing what Mike has to talk about in a very short space of time, because there are some amazing things coming in the next couple of years. So with that, I wanted to say welcome to DevDay, and thank you for coming. There are some amazing sessions. I'm really, really excited to see what people are going to be talking about. I think there's going to be some great things over the next couple of days. And then the final thing is a challenge. We've seen an amazing growth in this community. We have seen an amazing number of new ideas in places and fields that we didn't even anticipate when Corda was originally designed. So here's my challenge. What are you all going to help build? What are you going to be coming to CordaCon 2020 and saying, we've built these awesome new things? So with that, thank you very much.